Welcome back to another edition of ESBR Boxing. I'm Thomas, joined by my colleague Owen. Today we'll be discussing who's the future, or is David Benavidez the future of the light heavyweight division after his win, or unanimous decision win over David Morrell last night in Vegas. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, interact with our content any way you can across all of our platforms. That would be greatly appreciated. And David Benavidez as uh, as predicted, gets the job done, wins a unanimous decision. Fights pretty much a vintage David Benavidez fight.
Mhm.
Uh, in my opinion, slowed down a bit towards the end, but nonetheless, won the fight pretty, in my opinion, pretty wide. Anyway, Owen, just quickly before we get into the real topic of the video,
Mhm.
what do you think, or what were your thoughts on David Benavidez's performance last night?
The Mexican monster. I think he's so special. Before I go into his performance, props to Morale. Because I think, like you say, although Benavidez did slow down slightly, how he didn't get him out of there in the later rounds, I really don't know. The chin obviously Morale showed was unbelievable. I think some people question, would he have the chin, would he have the heart to stand with David Benavidez? Especially as we got into the later rounds, having that a lot less professional experience. I think Benavidez, he's such a problem. Obviously he said he's not interested in going back down to 168. I think without going into too much detail before, I know we've got a question coming next. Could be the new could be the new light heavyweight king. Yeah, I thought he was excellent. I was toying between the late stoppage and points. I did say points myself, but at one point, obviously, when I was watching it back, I was thinking that was close. I really, especially sort of like rounds 9, rounds 10, as we got to that stage, I really thought the stoppage was looming. So props to Morale for surviving, but the right man definitely won on the night.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, like you mentioned, I was also quite surprised. Like once the middle of the fight came along, or in the end too, I was surprised that Morrell actually hung in there. And he was kind of just doing all the things that you don't want to do against
No.
Benavidez, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like there were several moments where he was languishing on the ropes, just standing right in front of David Benavidez, and really just kind of there to be hit. But I will give him credit. He was a lot tougher than I expected. I thought David Benavidez was going to get him out of there, but I don't think the fact that it went to a decision is really too much of a knock on Benavidez because Morrell is a great fighter, in my opinion. Uh, so so yeah, I would tend to agree with you that I think that David Benavidez is the future of. You kind of just briefly touched on it, and I just want to get your thoughts though, because obviously we have the fight on the
Mhm.
22nd between Beterbiev and Bivol. Um, do you assume that um, Benavidez, or you believe that Benavidez is better than everyone outside of those two guys, or including those two guys?
Absolutely outside of those two guys, he's 100% the best in the division. I think that settled it last night. Obviously you've got the British contingent, Callum Smith, Joshua Buatsi, Anthony Yard, and to be honest, I think all three of them, David Benavidez makes light work of them. I think Buatsi, I'd have to have a think about would it be points or would he stop him? But if you put a gun to my head now, and ask me who wins, David Benavidez, Callum Smith, Anthony Yardy stops them both in the mid rounds. And I think I'd toy between a stoppage and a late stoppage and points with Buatsi. Looking at in the division, Beterbiev, is he going to hang around in the division? If he wins, is he going to go up and get a super fight at cruiserweight, the likes of Jai Pataya, with Usyk potentially stepping back down? Could we see that? Um, Could we see him retire if he wins, sail off into the sunset, 40 years of age? There's options for him. Bivol, it seems he is chasing that. Well, not necessarily chasing, but if he's presented with the Canelo rematch, he's not going to say no. It'd be the money on offer would be, although he's, on these Riyadh season cards, that would be sort of generational wealth from that. So I think you've got to look at Benavidez being the future of the division. Bivol could possibly step up. Could we even see him drop down to 168 to fight Canelo? Because he isn't the biggest 175er. So I think you have to be looking at David Benavidez for the next X amount of years as the man to take over. Because even looking outside of the British sort of contingent, Albert Ramirez, we haven't really seen much of him. Questions over him, Gavodzic's still ranked. I think Jean Pascal's still ranked in two of the organisations. So it's not, unfortunately for David Benavidez, it's not the most stacked division because I think he is an elite fighter. He's definitely world class and sort of in the bridge between world class and elite. But I just think, unluckily for him, he's not in the best division to show that. So I think we could see him fight Morel again along the line. But outside of Beterbiev, Bivol is 100% the future of the division. And I think at some point we will definitely see Dimitri Bivol fight and David Benavidez, and that is a huge, huge fight.
Yeah, I would love to see that fight. And that for me was really the fight that I would, assuming that I think that I feel confident that Bivol is going to pull it off on the 22nd.
Mhm.
And if he does, I feel like a fight between him and Benavidez would be huge. And I think I like Benavidez's chances in that one, honestly. I feel like for someone with the style of Bivol, I mean, uh, Benavidez's style is going to be tough. He's durable. He comes forward. Throws a lot of punches, and I mean, he's really a nightmare for someone who's, wants to stay on the outside and box. He really forces you to fight his fight.
Mhm.
And Bivol was what getting into his mid 30s now. So and Beterbiev on the other hand is 40. So both of those Beterbiev and Bivol either could or have other options or could be retiring soon.
Mhm.
And that would even further the case for Benavidez really being the future of the division. And as you mentioned, it's not really um, a stacked division as well. So I think it would be easy for him to claim that. Just real quickly, I know you mentioned we were both talking about how great of a fight it would be. You don't have to go too in depth, but if you had to just pick a winner right now, um, who would you lean toward?
Is that for Beterbiev Bivol? Sorry.
I'm sorry, for Benavidez versus Bivol, if that fight were
Oh,
to happen.
wow. Um, for that fight to happen, I think Benavidez is going to have one more. I think I'm backing Beterbiev to beat Bivol on the 22nd. So I believe Bivol will then fight Canelo, and then we see this fight. And I think by that stage, I love Bivol. I think Bivol is unbelievable, but I'm going to have to back Benavidez. I don't think he'll stop him.
And
Uh,
you would favor Beterbiev to beat
Benavidez.
Benavidez as well?
Um, I think I'd back Benavidez to beat them both at this stage. I think Benavidez's style, I know he did fade a little bit, but Benavidez, obviously, front foot, pressure fighter. He was constantly putting it on morale. And some of the shots he lands, massive shots. And I think he could sort of drag Beterbiev into his style of fight nice and early. So I think I'd back him to beat them both, which is probably a bit of a mad statement to some people. But I don't think we'll ever see Benavidez Beterbiev. I really think the chances of that are slim to none. But I really think we do see Benavidez Bivol in the next, say, 18 months to 2 years. And I will be back in David Benavidez to beat Dimitri Bivol on points.
Okay, well there you go. Sorry, there's a lot of B's, so
Yeah,
it
okay.
gets a
I
little
heard all this and
confusing
bees was a
to
bit
keep track
confused.
of all of them. But it's I mean, those three guys really stand atop the division. There really isn't much
hmm
else out there. So yeah, I would have to say, and he just turned 28 years old, whereas those Bivol in his mid 30s, I'm sorry, Beterbiev 40. So obviously Benavidez has a lot more time to work with. So yeah, I would say Benavidez is obviously the future of the 175-pound division. I think there's no really ifs and buts about it at this point. So we'll see what he does next. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think David Benavidez will do next and whether or not you think he's the future of the division. So yeah, as always, thank you very much, Owen, for your time, and we'll see you all on the next one.
Pleasure as always, mate.